G'day, ladies and gents, and welcome back to War Thunder. Today we're going to have a look at something a little bit more fun and a little bit more casual. This is the Aufklärung Panzer 38T, or, as I like to call it, the Skidoo Fur, because Sonderkraftfahrzeug sounds something like Skidoo Fur, and just to annoy the Germans in the chat, I'm going to call it the Skidoo Fur. Anyway, ladies and gents, this particular little tank is curious. It looks like it has rabbit ears. It's got, an open top. It's German. It's got a 20mm low tier on a Panzer 38T chassis. It's a weird looking tank. But I'll tell you what, it is interesting. It's certainly not the best. If I were going to club at this BR, I would probably just go with the Panzer 2C, honestly. But this thing is just weird, and it's a nice shake-up from high tier. I've done a couple of videos before on just some random low tier games that I've picked up over the few months that I've been, on this PC. It's been about a year and a half now, but basically, low tier is a really, really good break from high tier. You might think, well, that's pretty obvious, but as someone who gets a massive kick out of flying jets and air-to-air missiles and, MiG-19 with the 30 mils, you use so sparingly, it's ridiculous. But yet, you can carry. Low tier is such a weird place. It's like a weird magical fairyland that you go to just sort of take a load off, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. It's also a magical fairy place to revisit, perhaps, for lack of a better word, some of the better maps that you haven't seen in a long time. This map is Jungle, and for those of you who don't know Jungle, this map has been in the game for a very long time, and most people hated it with a passion, with a stinging passion. It was despised. I like this map, honestly. The reason being is because, one, you have 2 home caps, 2, you have several different places where the battle can occur. You have, for a third, a role for every tank. You have a space on the map for every tank. If you want to go and brawl, you can brawl around A. If you want to use your gun depression, you can use your gun depression just about anywhere on this map. The only thing it doesn't have is perhaps something a bit more favorable for Russian tanks. But that's okay, because there are maps that do favor tanks without gun depression, such as, the city maps, Eastern Europe, etc., etc. Jungle is one of those weird maps, and it's kind of nice, actually. It's got good power positions. I'm right there on one. I don't know what you'd call it, but I suppose the D5 square on the map is exactly where you would sort of go to maintain control of most of the map, honestly. It is a really, really good spot to fight from, especially if you're spawning on my side. But even if you're not, you can contest the C cap from this particular spot. And you can also contest the A cap. It is an extremely powerful spot, but that's okay. We don't need to do that yet. We're engaging AP 26. Skidoofers all the way. That 20mm cannon is not just an anti-tank cannon. It is also really, really good for anti-air. And I believe it is the same ammunition that you get on both the Panzer 2C and some of the early Gepards, which is really, really nice. So, yeah. Not only can it shred aircraft, it'll also shred tanks. There goes an A-13. And a BT-5 is soon to follow. I can see him shooting his MGs, so I go down the hill, try and turn that turret. The turret's really, really slow. The BT-5 donks the shot somehow, and I managed to get away scot-free. Easy 2 kills. You can really, really make this tank work just for the shits and giggles, honestly. It is just hilarious. It is a premium tank, so it does give you a couple of little bonuses, but it's not available for everyone. Although, sometimes, if you keep an eye out, follow a couple of people on Discord. I know Mike Goes Boom will always announce this, so, if you're on his Discord, just keep an eye out. Sometimes on Humble Bundle, you'll get discount codes for this particular vehicle, and they'll be going for something like $3. Honestly, you also get Golden Eagles, I believe, with the pack, and a couple of days of premium. So, why ask any more questions? Just buy. It's honestly worth its money, especially if it's just a discount code from Humble Bundle. Because I know for a fact Humble Bundle is very reliable, and they source their stuff direct. They don't use stolen credit cards, etc., etc. So you can rely on getting a good product that way. It's fun. The little Skidoo Fur is fun, and not only that, it's very cheap as well. You don't need to have a lot of money. All you need is I guess a PayPal account and $2.50 or $3.50, and you're set. That's not bad for a bit of fun. Like, you watch me romp around. I'm just sort of driving around at low tier, shooting up things and enjoying a goofy looking tank. Honestly, I wish I could close those that grate there. I believe it's probably, my guess would be it's to stop grenades and certain like throwables going into the tank. That would be my guess, but someone let me know in the comments if I'm wrong. This particular little tank is just so much fun. It's very slow. The armor is mediocre. The gun is where it's at. The only good thing about this tank is the gun, and its meme value is hilarious because it's low tier. The tank itself shreds through everything. That gun is crazy. The tank is just odd fun. It's really weird. I just have so much fun in this tank most of the time that I play it. Obviously, I don't always do well, but you almost don't need to do well to have fun in this tank. A couple of things that I'd keep in mind though is that the Skidoo Fur has really, really bad gun depression. It's got like bugger all. I can't remember the exact number, but you can see here I'm trying to shoot at this plane and I have to wait for it to cross my crosshair before I can engage it. That's how bad the gun depression is. It's terrible. It's absolutely god awful, but it's kind of worth it because it's just a bit of fun and it's low tier. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't mean anything. Everyone's sort of learning the ropes there anyway, so it's a bit of fun. And like I say every time I make a video on low tier, you keep forgetting that War Thunder is about having fun. And although winning is good and winning is also important for grinding, getting far, perhaps competitions, esports, if you will. Winning in War Thunder, especially low tier, it really isn't everything. Having some fun, just romping around in a dumb vehicle, shooting Stuarts from the front at like 600 meters and doing nothing, and then turning around and smacking them straight again. It's all a bit of fun. And the Skidoo Fur is perhaps the best example of that in the whole game. That and maybe the Zut. Those two things are just whack. They're some of the weirdest vehicles in the whole game, but they're some of the standouts because they're just crazy different. And they have so much potential to just be enjoyable. You can see I'm just sort of going around on the beach, shooting up guys, and oh look, there's a plane. Just sort of casually engage it, shoot a couple MGs at it, don't hit it, doesn't matter. It's not carrying any ordnance. It's probably not going to do anything because it's low tier, and everyone's just sort of romping around, being dumbasses, and it's hilarious fun. It doesn't matter what you're playing. You can almost always have a good time at low tier, and that's one of the reasons why I would recommend, especially if you're like me, and like to go to high tier a lot, come back to low tier a little bit. Even if it's not 1.3 like this, perhaps it could be 3.7 with the T-34 1942. Perhaps it could be the R3 T20 at 3.7 as well. Maybe it's the Sherman at 4.3. Coming back to low tier, just giving yourself a breather and then carrying on again with the grind is a really, really good way to refresh yourself. And for me, who's just come out of exams, it's starting to take a toll on you mentally. Having something to just sort of take a load off is really, really helpful. And the SDKFZ is a great way of doing that. My good old Skidoo Fur is a good way to just take a load off and have fun. Not only that, but it's $3 or $4, or it's under $5 for like this amount of fun. I'm shooting at a plane in a tank with an autocannon at low tier, and I have so much gun time that I could probably get 3 kills out of that if they were 3 separate planes, if I was shooting correctly. it's just a whale of a time. Everyone's sort of derping around. Everything's slow and dinky. I love it, and we often forget that this is where we came from with War Thunder. Not only as a game, but as a player. You start off with these kinds of tanks. You start off with Stuarts. You start off with, Tetrarch, A13, BT5, BT7, and then you work your way up. Obviously, you kind of forget that, and it's nice to sort of, for lack of a better phrase, remember your roots. Remember where you came from in War Thunder, and sort of just go back to it and have a bit of a romp on a good map, by all means. Jungle is probably underrated, and yeah, good map, good fun, good times. It's just a great way to blow some steam off. Honestly, it's just good fun. Anyway, ladies and gents, take care, and I'll catch you next time.